Hello students. Today let's look at another type of a plan which is called as budget. So budget is a type of an operational plan. Why we call it as an operational plan? Because one budget cannot be applied for all the projects or it cannot be a lifetime budget. So budget is that type of a plan which depends on what project the company is doing, what kind of a task has to be completed or what assignment is given to the particular department. So budget is a comprehensive guide which provides principles. It has certain formulation steps and it has different methods and rules. So let us have a look at budget in detail. Budget is known as a single use plan containing expected results in numerical terms. Now here it is clearly mentioned that budget is a single use plan. So let's say that there is a consignment, एक आपको consignment मिला है कस्टमर से और उस consignment को या उस ऑर्डर को पूरा करने के लिए एक बजट बनाया जाएगा और ये बजट सिंगल यूज प्लान होगा बिकॉज जैसे ही आपका ये कंसाइनमेंट या असाइनमेंट कंप्लीट हो जाएगा, जब नया असाइनमेंट आएगा तो आप नया प्लान बनाओगे। पुराने बजट का प्लान हम नए प्लान के लिए अप्लाई नहीं कर सकते। दैट इज वाई बजट इज अ सिंगल यूज प्लान कंटेनिंग एक्सपेक्टेड रिजल्ट इन न्यूमेरिकल टर्म्स। तो बजट हमेशा न्यूमेरिकल टर्म्स में ही लिखा जाता है। यू कैनॉट यूज द वर्ड like let's make an excellent budget or the budget has to be very impressive. Budget can always be explained in terms of numbers. So see, normally what happens, we think that budget means it is always about the money or it is always about the finance part, but it is not entirely true. Budget also is related to a time, that is the time element for whatever consignment or assignment or a project that you're going to do, how much time you're going to spend for that particular project. It is obviously the money element as we discussed, plus the material or the raw material, or it could be the any kind of a resources that you're going to use for completing that particular assignment is also going to be a part of your budget. It is a financial or a quantitative statement prepared and approved prior to a defined period, outlining the policy to be pursued to attain a given objective. So here we have to understand that budget is to be prepared. It is in a quantitative form. As we said, there has to be a numerical expression. It has to be written in terms of numbers. It is prepared and approved prior. Why you have to make it in advance? Because once the budget is clear, once you know how much time you have to complete a given task, once you know how much materials you're going to use, how much manpower you have, what is the funding that is available for a particular project, only then you can proceed with the further planning. So budget has to be prepared and it has to be approved by the higher authorities in advance. Budget making is primarily a planning process while its administration is a part of controlling. So budget is making is a part of planning process, but when we talk about executing the budget or when we talk about whether the budget is implemented in the correct manner or not, then it becomes a part of controlling function. So as we all are aware that planning is the first function of management and controlling comes towards the end part of any management function. Let us understand what are the objectives of budgeting. So these are very simple points to understand. It set performance targets. So whenever a budget is being prepared, it automatically creates a target that has to be achieved. So budget gives you the boundaries or it gives sets the limit within which you will have to perform. It could be in terms of time, it could be in terms of money, or it can also be in terms of materials that is available with the department. So it sets the performance target. The next is it defines the responsibility. So whenever a budget is prepared, the money part or the time is being allocated or divided, and every individual understands how much money they can spend, every employee understands how much time they have to complete the given task, or how much materials or resources are available. So it automatically it is going to create a sense of responsibility among the individuals or among the team members. The next point is it enables comparison. So whenever you have a proper well defined budget, it is going to be helpful not just for setting the targets, but it also helps in doing comparison. Now, how comparison? So whenever you start your plan with where you prepare a budget first, you get it approved, and then you start working on that given task. So automatically, when you come closer, okay, towards the end of the given task, or when you are at the completion point of your task, you can easily compare how you have performed. आपने शुरुआत कहाँ से की थी, आपने बजट कितना अप्रूव किया था, आपके पास फंड्स कितने थे, और एक्चुअल आपने एक्सपेंडिचर कितना किया है. So it is also going to talk about your efficiency, and it is also going to tell what difficulties or what challenges you have faced while implementing the given budget. So it also helps a manager or even the team members to make a comparison. Analyze variance. So it actually helps the team leader, or you can say the manager, or even the individual employee to identify the difference between what was the actual budget set and what is the actual performance, and why there is a difference. Let's say the money or the budget that was sanctioned was 100 rupees and you have actually spent 110 rupees. So this 10 rupees difference, why it has occurred, what are the cause behind it, and how you can rectify it, this can be analyzed. Now, it is also when we come to the next point, corrective action. So when you look at the budget, as I given a very simple example, a budget of 100 rupees and you are spending 110 to complete the given task, that means there is some, what we can say, there is some ड्रॉबैक इन आइदर इन द प्लानिंग और मे बी इन द एग्जीक्यूशन. या तो प्लानिंग में कुछ प्रॉब्लम हुआ था, या तो आप एग्जीक्यूट नहीं कर पाए अच्छे से, इसीलिए वो 10 रुपीज का डिफरेंस आ रहा है आपके एक्चुअल बजट में और आपके टारगेटेड बजट में. सो ये डिफरेंस को भी आप एनालाइज कर सकते हो और करेक्टिव एक्शन दे सकते हो. सपोज फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आपने जब प्लान बनाया उस वक्त रॉ मटेरियल के प्राइसेस अलग थे. बाय द टाइम यू आर इम्प्लीमेंटिंग द प्लान, बाय द टाइम आपने वो टास्क शुरू किया, हो सकता है कि ट्रांसपोर्टेशन कॉस्ट बढ़ गया और अब आपका रॉ मटेरियल थोड़ा सा कॉस्टली हो गया, थोड़ा सा उसका प्राइस इंक्रीज हो गया. सो इट इज गोइंग टू अफेक्ट योर फाइनल budget where your costing increases and maybe your selling price increases, or you can also say that your expenditure is going to increase. So when you have a proper budget where you explain लॉजिकली एंड यू हैव अ प्रॉपर रीजनिंग कि आपने बजट क्या कैसे बनाया है, उसमें कौन से एलिमेंट्स आपने ऐड किए हैं, उसके पीछे का रीजन क्या है, एंड उस उन प्रॉब्लम्स को आप एनालाइज कर सकते हो, एंड देन यू कैन डेफिनेटली प्लान सम करेक्टिव एक्शन. द नेक्स्ट पॉइंट इज रिवाइज पॉलिसीज. तो बजट में भी अगर कुछ मिस्टेक्स हो जाते हैं, जैसे अभी हमने एक एग्जाम्पल लिया सिंपल वाला, 100 रुपीज का बजट था, 110 रुपया अगर हमने खर्च किया है, तो उसमें भी यू कैन आइडेंटिफाई द डिफरेंसेस एंड देन यू कैन फिक्स द प्रॉब्लम. तो बजट सिर्फ प्रॉब्लम को एनालाइज करने में हेल्प नहीं करता है, बट आगे चल के ऐसे आप पॉलिसीज भी बना सकते हो जिससे आने वाले प्रोजेक्ट्स में आपको डिफिकल्टीज ना हो. तो इस करंट बजट से आप फ्यूचर बजट्स के लिए यू कैन identify your challenges, you can identify your drawbacks, and then you can fix them with the help of some new well designed policies. तो आपको पॉलिसी मेकिंग में भी बजट हेल्प करता है. लॉन्ग रेंज प्लान. So budget, as we said, it is a single use plan, but whenever you make a budget, it has to be considered, or it has to be made from the long term point of view also. So budget making or making a budget in a systematic way is also going to help you in the long run. Let us see what are the other remaining objectives of budgeting. Optimal resource use. So budget, as we said, इसमें सिर्फ money एक component नहीं है. We also consider time, we also consider the material, we also consider the resources that are available. So whenever you write down the budget, आप सिर्फ पैसे के टर्म्स में नहीं लिखते हो, you also take a 360-degree view. You consider every other thing that is going to get affected with your budgeting decision. So it is going to help you utilize your resources in the optimum manner. Resources fully utilize होगा, उसका wastage कम हो सकता है, and then it is going to give you better results. The next point is centralized control. So once the budget is prepared, once the higher authorities have sanctioned the budget, it is also going to help in centralizing the overall activities. So whoever makes the budget, whoever is the chairperson or whoever is in charge of making the budget can have an overall control throughout all the departments. That person who makes the budget and gets it approved has a entire hold or entire control in his or her hands, so that the implementation of the budget can be monitored. The next point is R&D planning. Whenever a budgeting is done, whenever a budget is being prepared, the focus is also on how much money is to be spent on research and development, because R&D, research and development, becomes the backbone of any plan that is taking you towards the growth. So whenever you're talking about growth, whenever you're talking about expansion, it cannot happen without a research and development. So budgeting is going to help you focus on how much funds, how much time, what resources you can allocate to your research and development. Financing is the next point. So plan and control financing so adequate working capital resources are available. This is so obvious. See, the expenditure that you have to make on working capital needs money that is there with the company on a regular basis. So working capital requirements, it could be paying the rent, it could be paying the electricity charges, it could be buying of raw material, it could be paying the salaries or wages. All these expenditures which are a part of working capital are going to be an important element in your budgeting. So budgeting also focuses on financing, that is how much money is to be spent and reserved for the working capital needs. The next point is coordinate activities. So budget is not just related to the finance department, budget is going to help in coordinating activities of different departments. So once the budget is sanctioned, it is going to affect the production department, it is going to affect the inventory, it is going to affect the sales, marketing, and every other department. They have to work in coordination in order to utilize the given budget to the fullest or to the complete in a complete manner. So it is going to help in coordination of activities. It also helps in decentralized responsibility. So here budgeting is also going to help in decentralization. Means what? A manager can delegate the authority and responsibility to the next level managers. So once the budget is sanctioned and approved, senior manager can assign the task, allocate the resources, provide the money, and then the next level managers, they can implement the task along with their team members. So it is also going to help in decentralization of responsibility. Manufacturing control. So definitely budget, as we said, is also going to affect the production department, inventory, or anything that is relating to the manufacturing process. So budget is also going to help you in monitoring your manufacturing activities. Last but not the least, budget act as a guide. It is that type of a plan which is going to guide you throughout the implementation process. आपको जब भी फंड्स को कैसे यूटिलाइज करना है, कहाँ पे किस एक्टिविटी के लिए आपको कौन से टास्क के लिए कितना फंड एलोकेट करना है, all such things, how much money you're going to spend on your marketing, how much money you're going to spend on your research, how much money you're going to keep as a reserve, all these decisions are going to be taken based on the budget. So budget is going to help you as a manager in implementing your plan, and it is going to act as a guidelines to you. Next up is a very important question where we talk about steps in formulating the budget. Now, why is it important to understand the steps in formulating? Because the budget cannot be, decided by one single person sitting in a AC cabin and somebody, doing some calculations, writing down कि okay, this is the amount that is to be sanctioned, या इतना ही पैसा होगा, इतने ही funds होंगे. So budget is not decided by one single individual. Let us understand how exactly the budget is being formulated. Starting with appointment of a controller. So the CEO oversees the budget program, delegating to a budget controller and the committee. So the CEO of the organization is going to be the budget in charge. The CEO is going to be the person who will monitor the entire budget making process from starting to the end, that is towards the implementation. So this is done along with the budget controller and committee. So here the budget controller along with the budget committee. So there's going to be a committee where you will have representatives from different departments. तो सिर्फ फाइनेंस डिपार्टमेंट के लोग बजट नहीं बनाते because they may not have an idea कि what exactly is happening in the production process. They may not have an idea how much money is required for sales. They may not have an idea about the marketing expenditure. So this budget committee is going to have people from different sections of your organization, and there is going to be a budget controller who is the in charge of this whole committee. The next is fix the budget period. So the budget period is going to depend on the type of industry you belong to. Like for example, any industry which is into a production or manufacturing of a product which keeps on changing, or a dynamic product, let's say for example a fashion driven sector, such industry where the product design or the product model keeps on changing, which is highly dynamic. It keeps on changing according to the customer needs, it keeps on changing according to the competition, it keeps on changing according to the changing trends and fashion. For such type of an industry, obviously the company has to use a short period budget. So the budget will not be made for a longer duration because the product is of a nature which is highly dynamic. It could be long term budget where the industries are into manufacturing of a product which are not very dynamic, where we can say not much R&D is required or the product remains same over a longer duration. For example, in industries such as FMCG, where the products are being manufactured and consumed more or less in the similar manner. Let's talk about detergent as a simple example. So detergent is a product which is not getting affected due to fashion, or which is not very highly dynamic. Therefore, for such industry, the budget could be long term. Next is to identify factor. Now, the key limiting factor has to be identified whenever you are making a budget. Now, what is this identify the factor, or what is this key limiting factor? Now, any factor which is going to have a greater impact on the budget has to be identified before you plan your budget. Like for example, a specific raw material which is very scarce in nature. ऐसा कोई raw material जो import होता है और जो entirely depend करता है आपके vendor के ऊपर, जो आप import कर रहे हो उस country पे depend करता है. तो this specific raw material जो इंडिया में available नहीं है, for example, which you are going to import, such a material is now going to be a key limiting factor in your budget. So whenever you're framing a budget, you need to identify कि ऐसा कौन सा factor है which may affect your entire budgeting, not just in the short run, but also in the long run. So that is your third step, that is identify the key factor. Then the next is identify centers. So once you identify the key factor or the key limiting factor, the next point you're going to do is identify the centers. Now, what exactly you will do in identifying the centers? Let's have a look at it. Identifying the budget centers. Let's take a simple example. So in case of production cost, the point of control will be at the supervisor level. So in this way, what will happen? Suitable areas of control can be selected. Now, these areas should not be too large because the reason is very easy, because the span of control should be limited. Now, when we talk about these budget centers are basically those aspects which are going to help a manager to supervise the entire implementation of budget. So it is very important to identify the budget centers. Last but not the least, it is preparation of budget manual. So what is a budget manual? A budget manual is a scheduled document or a booklet that shows the budgeting, organization, and procedures in written format. So what is a budget manual? Basically, when the entire budget is prepared, a manual it is like a document, is like a final document which talks about the entire schedule of the budget. It is going to give a manager as well as the team members various details about the budget. It will tell you the starting point, the ending point, the time that you're going to allocate the funds, the way you're going to allocate the funds, how the overall budget will be implemented, who is going to have a control over the implementation of budget, who will be the decision maker. All these details has to be mentioned in a documented format, and this document is called as a budget manual. Now, there are few things about budget manual. It should be in written form always so that it can be referred whenever it is needed. A copy has to be given to each department head for guidance. So when once the budget is prepared, it is sanctioned and the manual is ready, it has to be given to every uh, departmental head or the departmental manager. And this budget is also going to give details about the roles, responsibilities, and procedures. So budget manual is the final result of the whole budgeting process. So when you say that you're going to start with the budget making process, you have identified the budget controller, the CEO, who is the in charge of the whole budget process, along with the committee members. जैसे ही आप शुरू करोगे बजट प्रिपेयर करना, आप एक कमेटी बनाते हो, आप फिक्स करते हो बजट पीरियड कि कितने ड्यूरेशन के लिए ये बजट होगा, आप आइडेंटिफाई करते हो वो सारे फैक्टर्स जिसे हम बोलेंगे की फैक्टर्स, बजट के की फैक्टर्स। हमने एक एग्जांपल लिया कि अगर कोई स्केयर रॉ मटेरियल है या फिर आपकी पूरी इंडस्ट्री इज एंटायरली डिपेंडेंट ऑन let's say a particular packaging that is needed. So any such factor which is going to affect your production activity will now become the key factor in your budgeting. Next point we said is to identify the budget control or the budget centers. So once you have identified the key factor, how you are actually going to handle it, how you are going to supervise the entire budget becomes your budget center. Once all these things are planned, as a manager or as a budget controller, you have to put it down in a written format and make a document that is going to act as a guide. And this will be your final step in formulating a budget. So, dear students, we have come to the last topic of types of plan for this particular module. And I hope everybody has got clear insights about it. And in the next session, we are going to deal with some more topics from the module planning. Till then, thank you everyone and happy learning to all.